When you hear a loud noise, you may respond by jumping. External stimuli result in a response. We easily see this in animals, but it also happens in plants. We generally think of plants as passive. They simply, and much of the time very slowly, grow. However, there is much more to plants than we perceive. When animals, including humans, respond to a stimulus, which is something that causes a response, we call it a reaction. For example, if someone touches your arm, you generally turn to react. In plants, the response to a stimulus is known as a tropism. This plant movement towards or away from a stimulus can come in many forms. Before we look at a few, let's better understand the word tropism. Like many words in science, tropism comes from a Greek word. Tropos means to turn. Therefore, a tropism is a turn towards or away from a stimulus. When the movement is towards the stimulus, it is called positive tropism. Likewise, when the movement is away from the stimulus, it is called negative tropism. While there are several forms of tropism, we'll just focus on three key types: phototropism, geotropism, and thigmotropism. Phototropism is generally the tropism that makes the most sense. We know that plants grow towards the sun so they can make food through photosynthesis. This movement in response to sunlight is called phototropism. Let's break this word apart. Tropos means to turn, and photo means light. Therefore, phototropism is a turn towards or away from light. While most phototropism involves plants just growing towards the sun, some plants actually follow the sun throughout the day. For example, sunflowers will orient their flowers to the sun. In the morning, they point east towards the rising sun. They then gradually follow the sun throughout the day, eventually pointing west towards the setting sun. Let's now look at geotropism. We know that tropos means to turn, so we already understand the second half of the word. Geo may sound familiar because of words such as geography and geology. Geo means earth. Therefore, geotropism is movement towards or away from the earth. You may see geotropism used interchangeably with gravitropism, which is the movement towards or away from gravity. Examples of geotropism include the downward growth of roots and the upward growth of shoots. Roots have specialized cells that sense gravity and therefore have a positive tropism by growing towards the pole of gravity. Opposite of this is the growth of the shoot, which is the above-ground portion of the plant. The shoot exhibits negative geotropism by growing away from the earth. You can see these growth patterns with lateral roots and branches. Lateral roots will curve down, while lateral branches will curve up. The last type of tropism we will look at is thigmotropism. Thigma means touch, and again, tropos means to turn. Therefore, thigmotropism is movement towards or away from touch. Plants can be affected by touch both positively and negatively. For example, if you repeatedly touch a young growing plant, this can actually cause the plant to grow less. This is useful for plants growing close together so that they don't outgrow the limited space. We can also see a response to touch in vines and other climbing plants. Vines will grow straight along the ground until they touch something to grow on, such as a tree or a wall. This positive thigmotropism allows vines to find a support on which to grow. Another example of positive tropism can be seen in the Venus flytrap. These plants will close leaves around unsuspecting insects, which are then digested for nutrients. An example of negative thigmotropism is seen in a plant found in Central and South America. The touch-me-not immediately folds its leaves after being touched. It is moving away from the stimulus of touch. Regardless of the perception that plants are not the most interesting and animated things out there, they actually have several unique ways to respond to their environments. Geotropism allows plants to correctly orient themselves for growth. The roots exhibit positive geotropism and grow towards the earth. The shoot shows negative geotropism by growing away from the earth. Phototropism occurs when plants move towards or away from sunlight. Lastly, we looked at thigmotropism. This response to touch can be positive, like when vines grow around a tree or a wall that they touch. However, it can also be negative, like the folding of leaves seen in the touch-me-not. All of these responses to stimuli allow plants to thrive in their environments.